DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We're going to have a great show. Dr. Dave Sjeklocha is going to be here today, and we're going to talk about stockmanship, acclimation, why you should do it, things that can go wrong, things you might want to stop doing, and much more. So stay tuned.
When you spot BRD in your cattle, that's your golden opportunity to target infection and its associated fever with a single dose of Resflor Gold, the industry standard dual therapy. To learn more, talk to your Merck Animal Health rep or your vet and see label at resflorgold.com. Animals intended for human consumption must not be slaughtered within 38 days of treatment. This product is not approved for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and with me today is a special guest, Dr. Dave Sjeklocha. And if you've been a follower of DocTalk, we're in our 13th season. This guy was on episode number 1. And so this is how it all got started. And so all the success that we've had is because of picking the right people to be on the show. And when you pick the first one, and it just snowballs from there. So appreciate you being here, Dave.
Well, thank you, Dan, and I appreciate that. I didn't realize that I was actually the first guest, but I'm glad the show was able to survive my attendance in this show. So
we've done our best. But Dr. Sjeklocha is a veterinarian. He's been in feedlot practice for decades. He's recently now taken a place as a tech services veterinarian with Merck Animal Health. Allows him the opportunity to amplify his mission and things that he's done in practice and share with a lot of us as practitioners. And today we're going to talk about something that we kind of deal with in feed yards and ranches on a day-to-day basis, which is stockmanship.
Yeah. Yeah, no, stockmanship is so important, and I guess to really examine stockmanship, we have to think about what's our goals. What's the goal of having good stockmanship? Well, to me, it makes sense. It's taking care of our animals correctly, and that goes from everywhere from how we treat them out on pasture to how we handle those animals. And the whole goal of good stockmanship is to make the cattle's lives better, improve performance, and improve health. And if we can do those things, we can go so far in being more successful in our cattle operations, whether it's at the cow-calf stocker or feedlot level, even at the packer level. So yeah, good stockmanship is just so important.
Yeah, when you think about how many times we handle cattle throughout the year, throughout their life, and especially if and we're talking about just feeder cattle. We're talking about cows, bulls, everything. Every one of those opportunities, and stockmanship isn't just handling, right?
Right.
Handling is a slice of overall stockmanship, but
Yep.
But transportation. I see someone rip around the corner, with a load of steers, and you're like, man, can you imagine if you were standing in the back of that trailer?
Exactly. So, and I think that's the thing we've got to look at. And of course, the bulk of my career has been spent in the feed yards, and it's where my passion is. But you think about, how did those calves get to that feed yard? And let's just take kind of a worst case scenario. They're pulled off their mamas on one day and hauled to a livestock auction the same day. And nothing against livestock auctions. It's a great way to market your cattle. But there's a lot of things that go on that livestock auction that might not be good stockmanship, even though livestock auction workers are getting more and more attuned to good stockmanship. They go through the sale ring, they get commingled, they get on a truck, they're hauled X amount of miles to a feed yard, and we expect those cattle to perform.
Yeah, yeah, and then they're commingled one more time as we sort them to put them into pens and fill our pens and add on and different things to that nature. But everything that you're describing, every bad experience is a memory that animal puts in the Rolodex.
Exactly, and so when you get to the feed yard, and again, like I say, I'm a big fan of Dr. Nossinger and Dr. Lukasevich on what they've done as far as cattle acclimation is concerned, and that is you want to earn their trust from the get-go. So keep in mind when that truck backs up to that loading dock, those cattle are on your place, and you take control of them. So make sure that truck driver is unloading them properly without excess use of an electric prod. You can figure out ways to make that system work a little better. Greet those cattle. You have to start establishing trust with those cattle from the get-go. And if we can't start establishing that trust, then we're already getting behind the 8 ball on health, on response to vaccines, etc.
It's perfect. It's a great time to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about maybe some things that aren't the best practices.
Yeah.
Here with Dr. Dave Sjeklocha. You're watching Doc Talk. We're glad you joined us.
DNA Dialogue is brought to you by Identity Beef, powered by Neogen.
So I think that genomics has been one of the biggest technological developments in beef cattle breeding probably in the last 50 years. And what genomics has allowed us to do is it's given us an increase in the confidence when we're making our selection decisions. So typically that come from the bulls that we're going out and purchasing. If we have genomics, it makes us even more confident in the EPDs of an unproven young sire. So we're typically buying these bulls. They don't have a bunch of progeny to back up their EPDs. But genomics helps us be more confident. It reduces the risk associated with purchasing that bull, and it makes our selection decisions closer to the optimum. We could say the same thing about commercial genomic tests. So they're a little bit different flavor of genomics. But what they allow us to do in a commercial herd is become more confident about that replacement female that we're investing our time and money in, that she's going to have the genetics that we think that she should possess, that'll ultimately make our herd more profitable. So genomics, at the end of the day, they help us make selection decisions more accurately, and that ultimately leads to increased profitability at the end of the day.
Angus GS powered by Neogen is the highest industry standard in genomic testing for your whole herd. Contact the American Angus Association to test today.
Bovolus Nasalgen 3 offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, PI3, and BRSV. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose Bovolus Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only intranasal that protects against viral and bacterial pneumonia. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Dave Sjeklocha, and we're talking cattle handling, stockmanship. Dr. Sjeklocha is a veterinarian. He's practiced in Colorado when I first met you, and then Southwest Kansas, and been a wealth of information, a great person for me to go to when I need help on cases and things to that nature. He's a tech services veterinarian for Merck Animal Health, and you've been involved with stockmanship and stewardship and different things of that nature. But you said you had a little presentation that you've done with different things that maybe we shouldn't do.
Yeah, what I call it is common cattle handling mistakes, and it's things that I see frequently, even from people who actually are fairly good stockmen, but they don't really realize that they're making a mistake. And some of it is people, some of it is facility design, those sorts of things. And so one of the things I've noticed is at the squeeze chute, for example. Of course, when we're processing cattle, we want to keep that as low stress as possible. And this is primarily applies to hydraulic chutes, but you'll see if we have to use an electric prod, a lot of times it's that animal that's directly behind the squeeze chute. And the reason for that is often we squeeze in the bottom of that squeeze chute to where there's maybe that much floor for that calf to step in on, and he sees that he's not going to go in there, and for whatever reason the chute operator likes to keep that bottom squeezed in because he's thinking he's going to help support the calf and hold him up when he's in there. And well, that calf's not going to go into that squeeze chute until he feels like he has space. And if there's not space there, if you don't provide that space, that's when we have to use the electric prod. And you can pick up on things like that when you're standing outside the processing barn, because a lot of times when that's happening, when the squeeze chute is opened up, the cattle are leaving the chute with their tail over their back. But so don't be afraid to open up the floor on that squeeze chute, and those calves will walk in there a lot more easily. Another thing that I see all the time, and especially with these, we have so many of our facilities have solid-sided alleyways leading up to the chute, and the cattle can't see us well, and that's kind of by design. I mean, and not to take anything away from those designs, but the fact is the solid-sided alleyways keep the cattle from seeing us, and so by virtue of that, we have developed a habit, or a lot of workers I see have developed a habit of standing there and leaning on that alleyway. And the calf, if you've got your elbow over that alleyway, the calf can see you. And you're stimulating that calf the whole time when there's nowhere for him to go. And so you have to, you really need to step away even with solid sides. And that's why I like the direction the industry has gone to more open-sided alleyways. And some of those operations have taken the solid-sided alleyways and actually cut a slot about eye high where the cattle can see you and spot. And then so many times, all you have to do is just take one step forward toward that calf, and that calf will see that you're moving, he'll respond to it, and then you can step back. It's the old pressure and release thing. A lot of, that's the thing that's been taught in horsemanship for years is, pressure and release, and give that, when the animal does what you want him to do, take the pressure off.
We, it's a lot easier to just take a step forward and a step back than to step over, crawl up, walk, try to find where that calf is because you couldn't see where they were either, and then step back down and then repeat that process. But let's take a break.
Okay.
When we come back, more on stockmanship with Dr. Dave Sjeklocha. You're watching DocTalk. Thanks for joining us.
Success in the cattle business hinges on a lot of different people playing their part, from the vet to the cowboy and the nutritionist to the feed truck driver. You rely on them to get their job done right, and so do your cattle. Your expectations for the vaccines you use should be no different. Bimeta's cattle vaccines were developed and are made and sold by men and women in the cattle business. No smoke and mirrors, just real-world protection that you can rely on. Go to bimetabiologicals.com to learn more.
In the livestock industry, castration is a common practice to ensure proper herd management. All methods are painful, regardless of the age of the animal. At Solvit, We could not ignore the clear industry need for better castration solutions. So we developed LidoBand, a novel lidocaine-impregnated elastrator, addressing the pain associated with band castration. It provides local anesthesia throughout the castration process. LidoBand, a small device that can make a big difference.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Dave Sjeklocha, who's a veterinarian in Kansas, feedlot veterinarian, technical services veterinarian from Merck Animal Health. And as we were talking about some of the different things, the squeeze chute floor moved in, the opening up a side so the cattle can communicate with you. What are some others that you see?
Well, one thing that I see happens very frequently is using the either the tub or the bud box as a holding pen. It's not what they're designed for.
Right.
You know, whether you use a tub with a sweep gate, you know, the whole goal, that is a guidance system to get that calf into the alleyway. It's not a holding pen. And I've seen situations where a lot of times they fill the alleyway and they still got so many cattle that the person running the sweep has to throw his shoulder against it to get the flipper to catch the first notch and hold those cattle in there. Well, in that situation, as the cattle work through the alleyway, the rest of them that are sitting there in that tub are saying, you know, I got nowhere to go. I guess this is where I'm supposed to stay. And they quit looking for a place to go. And how are you going to get them to go somewhere? Well, you're going to have to stimulate them somehow. And a lot of times an electric prod starts getting overused in that situation. So in a bud box, I mean, if you overfill the bud box, you've kind of defeated the whole purpose of how to use a bud box. The goal with a bud box is, I always say, don't ever let the cattle's feet stop moving while they're in the bud box. And that's probably a little bit of an overstatement. But you don't want the feet stopping for very long. So you get them into the bud box, give them a few seconds to figure out that they need to come back, and then let them come by you and come back and bring in enough cattle only to fill the alleyway. That's the way a bud box is designed to work. And so often I see the overfilling the bud box, or people not understanding that you want to lead the cattle to the alleyway. Instead you want they don't understand that. They go back behind the cattle and chase them into the alleyway. Again, kind of defeats the purpose of a bud box. And then when we're talking about filling up that alleyway, usually a lot of our, at least feedlot processing crews, have a person whose job is to work that entire alleyway. And what I see a lot of times is they get one calf in the chute and they come back and get the next calf. And then they come back and get the next calf. And then they come back a little further and get the next calf. And all the time they've got a calf, or if it's a double alley, two calves with their tails blocking anything getting into the alleyway to refill it.
So nothing's come behind.
Yeah. And so that poor guy that's working the bud box or the tub, he can't refill that alleyway until those cattle are moved forward. So I encourage that guy to come back and keep moving the whole group forward. So the guy that's working the tub can go out and get more cattle and refill the alleyway, and it just smoother flow of cattle. My favorite saying is get them in and get them out. I want them to spend as little time in the tub or bud box all the way through the squeeze chute as possible. And that doesn't mean ram and jam. That means do it right, but bring in just enough to make the system work.
Well, you know, I love the idea of don't let their feet stop moving, except to stop, turn around, and come back through, and keeping those cattle flowing. Really, really important information, folks. When we come back, we'll have a wrap up with Dr. Sjeklocha. You're watching DocTalk. Thanks for joining us.
The cost of an open cow these days is very expensive. It's hard at times to dedicate a half a day or a whole day to leave your practice to go palpate cows. And so Alertis Test has helped speed the process up of getting preg rates back to the owners. And so free up time for for diagnostics or working in your clinic. It also will help generate revenue, not being on site to do the testing.
When a new calf hits the ground, the clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives them their best chance, but if they don't get any, time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. It's simple. You fill it with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or a nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Ask for it by name wherever animal health supplies are sold.
When the ones who have your heart need your help, count on us for everything they deserve, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Dave Sjeklocha. He's a veterinarian. He's done a lot of work on acclimation, cattle handling, feedlot medicine. When you're talking cattle feeding and processing, Dave is one of our go-to sources, a tremendous leader in veterinary medicine as well. So talk to me about your other pet peeve.
Okay. I really don't like to see those backstops at the very back of the alleyway where they're coming out of the bud box or the tub and trying to get into the alleyway, and there's a backstop hanging right there. And so I encourage people to either move that forward one animal length, because that way a calf will go into the alleyway, and then just the next calf behind him a lot of times will pressure him to attempt to step under there. Or the other thing you can do is fix a pulley system that where you can, as you're trying to get cattle come in there, you can actually be behind the alleyway, but pull on a rope or a cable or something that allows that flipper to come up.
Yep.
And just opens up that alleyway, and cattle will flow in there so much more smoothly. And there's a lot of different approaches to that it doesn't have to be a rope and pulley system. As you mentioned, make those solid so the calf attempts to look underneath it.
Yep.
Those kinds of things work really well. But as far as stockmanship and stewardship, of course, I'm a big supporter of stockmanship and stewardship. Merck helps sponsor the NCDA Stockmanship and Stewardship program with Ron Gill and Kurt Pate, usually the clinicians there, and I try to make it to every one of those. I've got a couple situations coming up. My daughter's graduating from college, and she's getting married on 2 of those events this year, so I'm going to have to miss a couple of those events this year. But the whole acclimation thing is so important, and to me it actually starts the day that calf is born. It's not just at the feedlot. It has to start way back there. And to me, a true cattleman is the guy that focuses on the end product. He begins with the end in mind, to steal a line from Stephen Covey. But if the day that calf is born, if that rancher understands that that's going to be a steak someday, and we want to get it to a steak as efficiently as possible, that rancher's going to have the right mindset to take care of that calf and do some acclimation things at the ranch level. And I did some things like that when I was involved directly in feed yard management. Day-to-day management. I like to, for instance, a set of cattle would come in, and this is before we had a name for it. We weren't calling it acclimation back then, but a new set of cattle would come into the pen, and of course you never know if they're ever drank out of a water tank before, pond or stream or something might be all they've ever seen. And so that was my focus, is trying to get them to find that water tank. And so for the first week, every day in the morning, I'd get out there and walk through the pen and I'd step over the bunk, and I'd just walk looking at the ground. I didn't look at the cattle. I'd just look at the ground. I'd check their stools out. You can learn a lot from examining their stools. And I just mosey my way over to that water tank, pull the drain on it, clean it out, and by then the cattle figured out that this guy isn't so bad. He ain't out here to hurt us. And so they start gathering around. They'd hear that noise. I'd put the drain stem back in and step away from the tank. They'd go hit the tank, and then I could walk around with my eyes up and start looking at cattle from then on. You know, just that little move had some acclimation to it. So
it's powerful medicine.
it is.
And I appreciate all that you do to lead us in our profession and lead us with stockmanship and stewardship.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Folks, thanks for watching DocTalk. Remember, if you want to know more about what we do, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Always work with your local veterinarian. With Dr. Dave Sjeklocha, I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, and we'll see you down the road.
At Merck Animal Health, we're shaping the future of animal health with pioneering science, connected technology, and insights-driven solutions to bring our customers an unparalleled portfolio of choices to improve cattle care and operational efficiency. We support you and your legacy by helping you meet the challenges of today with the innovations of tomorrow.